Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the third day of the 40-day Bible study and fast sponsored by Trinity Deliverance Church. It is the journey to wholeness, spirit, soul, and body. Before we get started, we want to welcome our host, our pastor, Apostle Diane Washington. Good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Carol, and to everyone on YouTube and Facebook and here in the webinar with us. I'm excited about our third day. I'm excited about self-love. Hello, somebody. Self-love. We got an excellent speaker tonight, and we're going to just jump right on into it. So
Sounds
thank God
good.
for you showing up.
Thank you, Apostle. All right, so I'm going to just show you really quick. I'm just going to share my screen very quick. Our guest speaker for this evening is the Dr. Catherine E. James. She's going to be our guest speaker for tonight. As Apostle said, she is known as the self-love expert. But before I go into anything else, I'm going to share just a little bit with you guys about our speaker. Now, Dr. James has earned her bachelor's degree in family life education from Spring Arbor University, a master's degree in pastoral counseling from Ashland Theological Seminary, and master of education degree in instructional design from Western Governors University, as well as a PhD in educational psychology from Walden University. She served students at Wayne County Community College for 36 years. And as a Michigan State licensed professional counselor, she operates a private practice as well. For almost 20 years, she was privileged to teach at both Spring Arbor University and Ashland Theological Seminary. Now, in 2016, she authored several books: Self-Love, A Gift You Give Yourself, where she encourages deeper levels of love towards God, self, and others. Pastor James is a sought-after teacher, speaker, and coach. She is known to her clients and colleagues as the self-love coach and soul midwife, as it is her life's intention for every soul to know love and know that they are loved. And so with that being said, I am going to ask our speaker to come on. Welcome, Dr. James. It is in your hands. And you can unmute, Dr. James.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Apostle Washington, for the invitation, for Pastor Carol for supporting and hosting. I am absolutely honored to be here this evening and to share what it is that God has created me to share. And we've already prayed. I'm grateful for the prayer, but I just want to bring us in, just ask God to just speak through me. Use me as your vessel, and I yield to you, Papa, and I thank you for this opportunity to share. I call God Papa, so you all will hear me refer to God in that way throughout. And so I'm going to just start my share from my screen, and let's get rid of that. Okay, here we are. So when we think about this idea of uniquely you, and I'm going to talk about that as we go through. But as a man, Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man or woman thinketh in their heart, so are they. And when we think about mental health and we think about self-care, this notion of what we do with our mind, what we focus on, what energy we give to things, thoughts become things, beloved. And so uniquely you is going to dive into how this notion of as we think of in our heart, so are we, how this plays out for us on a day-to-day basis. So Ogmandino, in his book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, made this statement, and I want you to take this in. I am nature's greatest miracle. Since the beginning of time, never has there been another with my mind, my heart, my eyes, my ears, my hands, my hair, my mouth, none that came before, none that live today, and none that come tomorrow can walk and talk and move and think exactly like me. Beloved, I invite you to consider your creation story. There was a point, however many years ago, that it was assigned for us to come into the earth. And do you know that at the moment when Papa created us, he breathed the breath of life into us, pneuma, we became living souls. We got a portion of Papa's breath that no one ever got before and no one will ever get again. We have divinity flowing through our being when we got the breath of God. And that made, and he uniquely made us. In essence, yes, the mold was broken. So we are God's, we are nature's greatest miracle. The rest of that statement says, and so are my brothers and sisters, or we're all brothers and sisters. So when I make these statements, I don't say it's just us individually. Every human that was ever created is a miracle crafted by the master's hands. And when we think about this idea of mental health and of self-care and caring for our mental, part of it comes with knowing who we are and understanding our creation story. It was with intricate details, with careful consideration that you and I were made. Since the beginning of time, never has there been another like you, and there never, ever will be. Some of the things, beloved, that we struggle with can be taken care of right there with understanding that, with simply understanding that never has there been and never will there be. So I invite you to embrace your creation story. Just consider, what is that like? Like if you could just, in your imagination, stop and think of that day when Papa said, it's time for you to bless the earth with your presence. And so he took a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And he breathed the breath of life and we became living souls. That for me, that it's enough for me to show up. And for me, when I think of that, the only appropriate response, beloved, the only appropriate response is thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So you out there in the virtual world, I invite you just in this moment, and as you think about yourself, think about Elohim, the creator of the universe. Think about that you exist. What other better way to respond is that then? Thank you, Papa, for thinking of me. Thank you for creating me uniquely individual. Thank you for giving me the breath of life. Thank you. It's the only appropriate response. Demonstrated for an appreciation of our creation. Our love for us is an act of appreciation. Have you ever been given a gift, beloved? And what is the appropriate response when we are given a gift? The appropriate response is thank you. That is indeed the appropriate response. And appreciation and care for the gift that is given is the appropriate response. So when we think about this notion of caring for our mental health, when we think about this notion of caring for ourselves, being appreciative of Papa's time, his energy, his tools, his resources to make us who we are, I don't know any other appropriate response than thank you. So one of the things that I do is I use pom-poms. I love celebrating. I love honoring. I love being in jubilance and joy over that which is worthy of appreciation and honor and thank you. So when we think about that, so the scripture that Papa has given me to anchor everything that I do is this: love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your strength, and with all of your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your strength, with all of your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Beloved, ours is a love story. Ours is a love story. It's the love of God to us, for God so loved, right? What manner of love is this that God would? So ours is a love story. So he tells us to love ourselves, to love him, right? Love God with all. But then he says, love our neighbors. Beloved, it's assumed that we're going to love our neighbors from the place, from the source, from the richness of us loving ourselves. Let me just say this. It's assumed that you're going to love yourself. If Papa took the time to make us, and since Papa took the time to make us, since Papa took the time to make us individual, right? Because he could have cookie cutter. He's God. He could have done anything he wanted to do. But he took the time to make us individually, that we would have this mosaic of humanity. Don't we expect that he would assume that we're going to love ourselves, that he expects that we would love ourselves? Let me just say that to the degree that we fail to love ourselves, no one else has the ability to fill that void, beloved. Oftentimes we find ourselves, and I'm a mental health professional, so oftentimes I find myself in situations with individuals who are struggling because this person doesn't love them, and that person doesn't love them, and this person, and their mother didn't, and their father didn't, and their spouse didn't, and their siblings didn't. Let me ask you the question, do you love you? Because that's the anchoring place. Papa's already done his part. If you love yourself, beloved, then you can build from there. But if you fail to love you well, no one can love you sufficiently enough to fill the void of you loving you. You have the primary responsibility of loving you first, of loving you well, of loving you consistently, of loving you thoroughly. That is your responsibility. And everything else, beloved, is bonus. Everything else is bonus. Everything else is bonus. I tell people all the time, when it comes to me, everything is bonus. I'm going to love me well. I'm going to love me first. I'm going to love me thoroughly. I'm going to start all of my own parties and invite folk to the party. What I'm not going to do is wait on someone to tell me that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, because it's already said that I'm the beloved of God. It's already said that I am uniquely crafted, handcrafted. It's already said. I'm going to believe it. I invite you, beloved, to believe it. I invite you to believe what Papa says about you, that you are ecclesia, the called out one. To believe that you're the head and not the tail. To believe what Papa says about you as he calls you the beloved. Ours is a love story. And if there's anything that can help us with our mental health, it is believing that Papa loves us. Now, let me just say, as a mental health practitioner, sometimes we do need additional help. Sometimes we need therapy. Sometimes we need to go and get medication, right? Sometimes we do. So I'm not taking away from that. But tonight I'm dealing with this notion of self-love, the part that we can do for and with ourselves. And when you pour it into you, let me tell you what it's not. It's not selfishness. It's not ego-driven behavior. It is not narcissism. You loving you well, you loving you first. It's the same concept that we run into when we're on the airplane. They instruct us, put the mask on you first. If you're loving, pouring love out to everybody to the point that you have nothing for yourself, that's an affront to God. Because God gave you to care for you. God gave you to care for you. Sometimes I teach on living from the runneth over place. So do you know this idea of, I talk about ourselves as being a cup, like we all have a cup. And it's our responsibility to pour into our own lives, right? This self-care. to pour into our cup. Do you know many of us have been taught to serve and serve and serve and serve till our cup is dry and crusty. And you know what we do? We still serve. From the dry and crusty place, we're still serving, beloved. That is not honoring God. And that is not honoring his creation. Beloved, I offer you this. 23rd Psalms talks about our cup runneth over. We're not to serve from our cup. Everybody has their cup. And everybody has the responsibility of filling their cup. Now, I'm not talking about young folk, because we have the responsibility of pouring into them until they can pour into themselves. I'm not talking about folk who can't pour into themselves, but those of us who have the wherewithal, who have the ability, able body, able mind to pour into ourselves, we have the responsibility of pouring into ourselves, and we do not serve from the cup. Where do you think we serve from? I'm gonna give us a few seconds just to think about that. If we don't serve, we're not to serve from our cup. Where do we serve from? We serve from the saucer, beloved, from the runneth over place. We serve from our overflow, because otherwise we find ourselves like the Snickers commercial. Right? We find ourselves in those places. No, beloved, you have the responsibility of pouring into you. And I am telling you, that is a wonderful place from which to live. So no, it's not selfishness for you to care for Papa's creation. It is not ego-driven for you to take time for you and take a hiatus and do what you need to do to pour into you. No, it is not narcissism to know that you are a gift, and you are a gifted gift, that you are created from the masters, that we are a part of his imaginations. We are not. It is an accurate response to the revelation of Elohim's action, our creator, our creation, and his intention to prosper and not to harm, and not to give us a future hope. It is an accurate response to it. So it's not selfishness, and it is not ego-driven, but it is an accurate response. Let me keep going. So I want to go back. So when I think about and this accurate response, we have the responsibility. I heard someone say something recently and it blew my mind. It's this idea that Papa dreamt a dream for us. At the moment of our creation, there was an intention. Scripture says, right? I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. His intention is for us to prosper and not to have harm, to give us a hope and a future. And so Papa has a dream for each one of us. And I heard Oprah say, lean into the dream that Creator God has dreamt for you. Beloved, your dream is different than mine, and my dream is different than yours. But you have the responsibility of walking your dream out, of making your dream come true. One of the best things that we can do for our mental health is to live out our dream. Do the thing that makes your soul sing. Do the thing that brings you alive. Another person said, Howard Thurman said, I forget what he says, but basically the part of his quote is to do the thing. I'm not going to remember it, but do that thing that gives you life, right? Do that. And that is how we can serve. That is how we show up best in life. Let me talk a little bit about some dream killers. So Papa dreamt a dream for you. Papa dreamt a dream for each one of us. We came out of, if I can use this phrase for God's imagination. So Papa Elohim dreamed a dream that you would. Beloved, let me just say that I'm going to stop a little bit and talk a little bit about this dream. I also heard Oprah, she explained that. She said, I used to lean into the dream that I have for myself. But when I thought about the fact that God has a dream for me, I've put my dream to the side, and I only want the dream that God has for me. I agree. I have a vivid imagination, but it cannot touch the creator of the universe's imagination, his dream for me. So my everyday intention is to lean into the dream, to fulfill the dream, to walk out the dream that God, the creator of all that is, has for me. That is, someone said, our life is the gift that God gives to us. And what we do with our lives is our gift back to him. What are you doing? Do you believe in that which is coming up out of your soul? Do you believe in the thoughts that you have that is for yours to do? Do you believe that you are uniquely created and there's something that only you can do that no one else in the earth can do? If you believe that, then it's about time, and hopefully you already are, about the Father's business, doing that which only, look, other people can speak, right? I'm a speaker, I'm a teacher, I'm a pastor, other people are those things too, but nobody does it like I do. That's not arrogance. That's a sober awareness that when God created each one of us, that he broke the mold. And there is a reason that he made me the way he made me, and that he made you the way he made you. When we understand that, beloved, we stop second guessing. We stop questioning ourselves. We stop wondering if I can, if I can't, we stop caring about what other people have to say. Dream killers. Failure to consistently connect with God, with Abba. There's no connection if we have broken connection if we don't have consistency. We don't have clarity about the dream. There's no fulfillment about the dream if you don't know what the dream is. I'm inviting you, beloved, lean into the dream that Papa has dreamt for you. Get clarity about what that dream. If there's anything that helps our mental health, it's walking out purpose and destiny. It's fulfilling that which your soul cries for. If there's anything that can help us to have a reason to get up in the morning, to take care of this body, this unique body that we have, it is leaning into the dream. Failure to love his creation as well. Failure to love his creation well. Failure to love yourself well, beloved, is the idea that we're not worthy for God so loved the world. So as a therapist, I often sat across from others who think I'm not worthy. Worthy of what? Worthy of what? Worthy of breath, you're breathing. Worthy of doing what you dream to do, that dream comes from God. Worthy of, what do you mean you're not worthy? Papa's already taking care of that. You're here. For God so loved the world that I'm not lovable. For God so loved the world. So if you think you're not loved, perhaps you've done something that you think you're not lovable. Forgive yourself. Make amends if you need to. Release it and let it go. And get about the business of fulfilling the dream that Papa, Creator God, has dreamt for you. I'm not important. You are important enough for God to have gone on the cross that we could have access to him. So when things come to tell me that I'm not, I just remember, for God so, and that world includes me. Failure to believe what he says about you, beloved, scripture tells me that we are fearfully, carefully, with reverence and wonderfully made, handcrafted by the master, uniquely and individually formed and fashioned in our mother's womb. He knew us before we were, to be known by the Father Come on, beloved. I'm just saying, if we believe this, our mental health takes some leaps and bounds upward. When I lean into knowing who I am, because Papa created me that way. So failure to believe these things have us in a place of begging our Father instead of being his child. That right there, the begging versus being, that's a whole course all by itself, beloved. But failure to apprehend who we are will have us functioning as beggars. When our Father owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, when our Father created everything that there is to create, when our Father called us into being, and instructed us to be fruitful, instead of being who we have been created to be. I'm inviting you to be. If you find yourself in a place of, Papa, please come boldly before the throne of grace and mercy and find grace to help in our time of need. Papa is always available, always welcoming, always wanting us. We have an open invitation at the Master's feet, at his table, in his lap. Whichever way you need, he is available. I'm inviting us. See, self-love, not loving ourselves, is not an option from where I stand. When I understand the creation, my creation story, how dare I not love me? How dare I not do everything that I can to fulfill my dream and walk it out? How dare I not serve the way that only I can serve? Because if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. Beloved, you feel a piece of humanity's puzzle that only you can feel. If you don't go in that spot, if you decide not to show up or to half show up, it doesn't get done. I don't want that on my conscience. I'm going to do what only I can do. From a mental health and self-care perspective, I'm inviting you to pre-decide a life of release, love, and gratitude. To pre-decide, to commit to release anything that doesn't serve you well. Anything that doesn't serve you well. Just make a commitment right now. I'm inviting you to commit to anything. We just came out of 2023. Was there something in 2023, beloved, that didn't serve you well? Was there something in 2023 that kept tripping you up? Was there something in 2023 that weighed on your mind? Was there something in 2023 that kept you kind of limited in whatever? Here's an opportunity right now to just release it and let it go. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's necessary and it's absolutely doable. Commit to releasing anything that doesn't move you towards love, right? It doesn't serve you well if it doesn't inspire you to live out and fulfill Papa's dream. If it has you believing that you can't, you ain't, you won't, you don't. What? The creator of all that is created you and made you uniquely an individual. What you mean you can't? What do you mean you won't? Hold up. Do we understand the mandate that's on our life to fulfill something that only we can fulfill? Sometimes we think that we don't have anything unique about us. Hear me when I say there's not another one of you in the entire universe. Even if you're a twin, a triplet, or a quadruplet, a quintuplet. No one has your fingerprints, beloved. No one is exactly like you, which means no one can fill your shoes. That is not, again, not arrogant. Again, it's not narcissism. It's a sober reality. It's a sober awareness of Papa's intention for us to fulfill something that only we can feel. If it doesn't move you towards love, I'm asking you to release it. There's someone who says, there's some research that says there are only really two emotions in the world, and it's either love or fear. Love or fear. If you are filled with fear, then love is not present. You find yourself in a situation where you're fearful, ask yourself this quality question. How can I bring love into this situation? That situation will improve exponentially. You'll have quantum leap improvement when you move from fear to love. So I'm inviting you to make a pre-decision to live a life of release, love, and gratitude. Gratitude is the secret sauce, beloved. I am not saying that things are always fun and funny and lighthearted, but gratitude is the secret sauce. So even when it's in the most difficult of times, gratitude would help you to lift. Find something to be grateful for. A mental health hack is gratitude. Find something to be grateful for. So we may not get to decide what happens to us, but we must take care to decide how we will think about what happens to us. We may not get to decide what happens, but we must decide how we would think about what happens. Because if our thoughts is that I'm a victim, if our thoughts is that this always happened to me, if our thoughts is that, like, beloved, our words sow seed and have power. We have what we say. I'm not saying to lie about something, and I'm not the whole positive thinking. No, I am accurate thinking. So even when life happens, we've got to decide what we're going to say about it, because what we think about a thing makes it better or worse. And then what you say about it seals the deal. You got to decide what you're going to say about it in your mind, because your mind hears it. You got to, your heart hears. You got to decide what you're going to say, what comes out your mouth. You've got to speak life, especially if the situation is death. We got to decide what we're going to do about what happened. That's the action. We position ourselves to take inspired actions. And then we have got to decide, now this last one, who will we become as a result of our thinking about what happened? We don't become as a result of what happened. I need you to hear this. If you don't hear anything else, I need you to hear this. We don't change because of what happened. We change because of what we think about what happens. And you know that if you just look at different people who've had different tragedies and things that have happened to them. Some people make it out of the same thing. Some people don't make it out of the same thing. There's a quote that says, 2 men sat behind prison bars. They both were in the same predicament. One saw mud, beloved, and the other saw stars. It wasn't about what happened. It was about what they thought about what happened. We know scripture, Philippians 4:8 tells us about thinking, right? It tells us about our thinking. So, and so I want to go back a little bit to what happens. When life happens, I remind myself that Elohim created me uniquely individual to serve in a way that no one else can. The gravity, right? Comprehending this gravity of my unique contribution, it does not afford me the luxury of staying stuck. I'm not saying I don't get stuck. I'm saying that I've learned, I've built the muscles to recover sooner, quicker, faster. So it doesn't give me the luxury of focusing on what happened to me or forfeiting my showing up in the future because it happened. I am compelled to remember who I have been created to be. Mental health. Remember who you are. To live out Luke 10:27, to normalize self-love, to the intent that every soul, it is my life's intention that every soul would know love with a capital L and know that they are loved. And in closing, I want to leave you with these 2 statements. At the moment that Abba gave us our breath, we forfeited, we relinquished, we gave up the right to not be amazing, beloved. Again, this isn't narcissism. This isn't arrogance. This is not none of that. This is a sober awareness that the creator of the universe created you and I. What do you mean you're not amazing? What do you mean you don't have a unique contribution? What do you mean it's just nothing about us is running a meal? The human body, the human being, the things that that we are able to do. It's amazing, mind-boggling, right? It can't be repeated except that the Creator creates. So, mental health, caring for the unique. You are precious, fearfully and wonderfully made. And then this is what Papa also gave me for us to know. You and I, you are an irreplaceable, unrepeatable, remarkable miracle with your own special brand of brilliance. Can't nobody do you like you do you. No one can. Luke 10:27 says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, and strength, and thy neighbor like you love yourself. Our Father assumes that we're going to love ourselves. Our Father makes that assumption. And so there's something that only you can do. You're irreplaceable. You cannot be replaced. You're unrepeatable. You cannot be done again. You're remarkable. You're uncommon and extraordinary. And my favorite one is miracle. You, beloved, are a surprising and welcomed event. And I invite you to stay connected with me. You can take a picture of the QR code and it'll give you this page. And that's what I have to say for the evening. Thank you so much.
Wow. Right. Dr. James, I know you're on a time, on a time limit.
I'm good. It changed. So
Okay.
it changed.
Wonderful, wonderful. I just want to say, for all of you that are watching tonight, as I'm sitting up here, I told my daughter, I said, if I didn't have to keep watch of the screen, I probably would have did a run through the living room. I'm so full, Dr. James. I'm absolutely full. You have encouraged, you have uplifted, you have reminded the people of who they are in Christ tonight.
Yeah.
No matter what has happened to us in life, no matter the trial, it's not saying that we won't have them, but you reminded us tonight of who we are, our identity.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm just so full. You said build the muscle. You built the muscle to recover sooner, quicker, faster. That right there. Building the muscle. Yes, and all of these, this encouraging message that Dr. James has brought to us, that right there really touched me. And that is an action. There's so many call to actions that she brought to us today. I won't go into it, but she said she built the muscle to recover sooner, quicker, faster. So my question to the folks that are watching tonight, have you been building the muscle? Have you been doing the things that you know to do? Have you been utilizing the tools that you have to become stronger? Right? I'm just full. Apostle, I'm gonna give it over to you. I can just keep on talking.
We're going to get ready to go into the afterglow.
Yes.
So, I know you guys want to be over the afterglow, but we're going to go into the afterglow. And I'm telling you, come back tomorrow night because we're going to have, tomorrow night's going to be exciting too. So we thank God for you guys, but I'm just going to say goodbye to you guys because I got much to say in the afterglow.